Hello and welcome. I'm Sarah DeHaven, and this is The Rules of the Game, a series created especially for the Willfully Evolving Woman. If you've just found this video, be sure to revisit the introduction episode either now or after listening to this one. And for those of you who are ready to get started, let's dive right in. Vibration. We can also refer to it as frequency. Just like mentalism, correspondence, and all of the other principles, these rules of the game, such as vibration, is of great importance to comprehend. And in so doing, in concert with mentalism, correspondence, polarity, rhythm, and cause and effect, as well as gender, one becomes well equipped to excel in this life. What evolutionary potentials and promises of a destiny fulfilled, the quality of the outcomes you pursue and experience inevitably become enhanced, all because you know how this game is played. Vibration has become somewhat popular in recent decades. Good vibes, bad vibes, we've all heard it. Even if we can't see them with our physical eyes, we can certainly feel vibrations. Whether they are thick and dense, low and slow, high and tinny, or soft and velvety. We know when we're feeling something that we like, and when we're feeling something we don't like. But do you know why you prefer certain vibrations and feel repulsed by others? Knowing the answer will aid you in engaging with this reality from a space of empowerment, becoming both a player of your own instrument and a more conscious conductor of many orchestras that, through your awareness and aesthetic wisdom, create beauty, harmony, and inspire creativity, innovation, and genius to come forth into this world. Can you create beautiful music even with dissonant frequencies and vibrations? Thinking like the Locrian mode or tritones, for example. Some of the most talented humans were aligned with this principle in great measure, so we know that it is possible to turn what appears to be unpleasing into something of great power with its own unique beauty. Through correspondence, we have learned that what exists in the macro will bear a resemblance to the micro and vice versa. Whether it's profane or mundane, sublime or divine, gray or colorful, we do see that as within, so without, and as above, so below. There is a correspondence at work here in this reality. And through mentalism, we have learned that it is about one's state of mind and the quality of their mind. This is important to remember, and if you're forgetting, be sure to go back and check out those episodes. Let's now turn to the Kybalion to see what it has to say about the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in motion, everything vibrates, nothing is at rest. Facts which modern science endorses and which each new scientific discovery tends to verify. And yet this hermetic principle was enunciated thousands of years ago by the masters of ancient Egypt. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest, just as a rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration, from corpuscle and electron, atom and molecule, to worlds and universes. Everything is in vibratory motion. This is also true on the planes of energy and force, which are but varying degrees of vibration, and also on the mental planes, whose states depend upon vibrations, and even on to the spiritual planes. An understanding of this principle, with the appropriate formulas, enables Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. The masters also apply this principle to the conquering of natural phenomena in various ways. He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power, says one of the old writers. Let's now unpack what we've just read together, starting with this quote. An understanding of this principle, with the appropriate formulas, enables Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as that of others. I think it's fair to say that this isn't exclusive to Hermetic students. I think that all people can affect the vibrations of others as well as themselves, even if there's a great distance. And I'd say that would most especially be true if there's been a merging of fluids or some other intimate connection that has been made, such as a merger or sharing of resources and or property. Women, as gestators, nurturers, and facilitators of life, have an especially powerful influence on the vibrational frequency of herself and those around her. While everyone is responsible for their own mind, because women are physiologically and archetypically aligned to the womb, the vagina, and the breasts, we have a special ability. The imperatives to ensure our conduct is sound and that we are vibrating at a frequency that is healthy, clear, and sane becomes undeniable as we consider the current state of humanity. When the feminine principle, which we'll speak about more in the episode on gender/generation, when the feminine principle in either men or women is executed with an intent to entrain others to think or behave in ways that distort or oppress their natural frequency, the results will speak for themselves. Poor mental health, depression, libidinal suppression or overcompensation, anxiety, self-doubt, low self-esteem, anger, resentment, neuroses, and psychoses. And this is just scratching the surface. In any case, the body and nervous system also suffer, and a great variety of pathological symptoms, illnesses, cancers, and other maladies can arise, all from the manipulation of one's natural frequency, either our own or that of others. So for the woman who thinks that a good strategy to this game is to manipulate and scheme in order to get her due, will certainly do so. But will the consequences be worth it? The answer is obvious if we think beyond our own survival and comfort and consider what it means to be deeply and truly satisfied, what it means to live life to its fullest, what survival of the fittest means for the willfully evolving woman, a woman who is thinking not only of herself, but of the quality of the life that she is sowing for the generations to come, in addition to herself. This is why it's imperative to understand that, yes, we can control our own mental vibrations, but women, especially, and in considering the feminine principle, the feminine will influence, by its nature and the quality of that nature, the vibration of all that is around them. Think of the examples of how you influence the world and even your own living space, your own environment. Observe how you and others, especially women, but also the feminine principle in men, which we will get into later. But if you already have a clue as to what the feminine principle is, just observe how one's frequency, their vibration, their tone, their mood, how it can influence others and even an environment. See if you can notice it in the short term, but also on the longer term. Look at older environments and see how the vibration, how it permeates deep into the past and yet reverberates into the present. You can look at this in a macro scale, looking at the entire world or nations. You can also look at it from more micro environments and examples, such as something that's newly been made, such as a bud growing from a tree, such as a new outfit that you may be wearing that you've never worn before, that no one else has worn. Even considering using that example, what it feels like to wear secondhand clothes versus new clothes. I'm not saying one is good or bad, but can you notice the vibrational difference? Even in the colors and in the types of fabrics that are being used. And these are just some basic examples. But notice how these vibrations emanate and how they can influence your own mental vibration. And then subsequently, how that influences how you influence yourself, your environment, and other people. Of course, we can go much deeper than simple clothes. We can look at our own psychological dispositions and how we were vibrationally impressed upon while in gestation in our mother's womb throughout our formative years. There's many ways that we can look at this, but those are some good examples to take into consideration because we have more superficial examples and more deeply fundamental examples. Let's now move on to another quote from this excerpt we've read on vibration. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in motion, everything vibrates, nothing is at rest. And another quote, this principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration. And one last quote before we deconstruct this. From corpuscle and electron, atom and molecule, to worlds and universes, everything is in vibratory motion. And vibration is certainly a principle you've heard of before, maybe not referred to as a principle or a rule of reality, and yet it is. Most of us, though, we know about vibration and resonance. We live our life steeped in vibration and resonance. It's impossible to avoid. What this principle rule states, though, is that no matter how solid or subtle an object is, so it could be a rock, or it could be the air we breathe, or our very life force and our spirit. It could be our material, physical body. All of it is vibrating. It is constantly changing, resonating with a specific frequency that is constantly in flux, even when it appears to not be moving at all, even when it appears to be quite solid and enduring. For women, we are taught that how we come across really matters. How beautiful we are seems to be of great importance. How positive and upbeat we are, or how powerful. All of this seems to matter. And some will wear a mask. They'll hide their voice, they'll hide their natural frequency, or they may feel that their frequency is inadequate and that they have to fake it till they make it or pretend to be something they aren't. All out of a concern for what the outer world will think of them, their viability in this world. How they are perceived can become extremely high priority, either consciously or unconsciously, or both. So a touch of makeup here, a change to our smile there, the right color, accent, and outfit to suit the occasion. All of these things can change our vibration, our mood, our disposition, our confidence, but merely on a survival level, and rarely, if ever, providing deep, meaningful, and enduring change to one's prevailing frequency. That is not to say these things can't help, but they are not the catalyst for deep, meaningful, and enduring change to one's prevailing frequency. This means the vibration on the inside, the truth of what we are emitting, will be what it is, regardless of what we cover it over with. Whether those accents complement or hide, what is there at the core and the many layers surrounding that core will persist, though obstructed by the shell of this vibrational, superficial surface level covering, accent, or accoutrement. Does the outfit actually complement, or does it merely obfuscate an existential angst? Does the beauty treatment, the win at work, the quarterly report, or the sexual encounter raise your vibration, or do they act as a high, merely distracting you for a time from the truth of who you really are and how you really feel? We so often see these days filters and lighting and other efforts made to hide who we are or to come across a certain way. And there's no judgment in that coming from me. can be an effective tool when wielded purposefully, for good or for ill. And those who master the art of glamour can use vibration to cast a great many illusions, cloak themselves in illusions, to ends that can result in various forms of satisfaction and various forms of manipulation. It's all in the intention and the wisdom and the capability of the wielder of such tools. Note, though, that I say those who master the art of glamour can successfully use the principle of vibration to meet their ends. If one barely comprehends their own mind, or lacks awareness of what they are willfully or tacitly corresponding to, and what it looks like and what it feels like to be true to themselves, if they lack that awareness, attempting to manipulate vibration to a desired end can be like trying to hit a target blindfolded, and it is at best an inefficient use of one's time and energy. So if you're a woman who has been using conventional methods to get what you want and are either failing in that attempt or finding the results dissatisfying, just know that there are more effective ways. So keep listening if you wish to learn how to get onto the road of mastery of vibration. Let's now move on to another quote in this excerpt. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest, just as a rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration. What is dense is not always malignant. What is subtle is not always beneficial. Remember to take heed and remember the primary principle rule, that of mentalism, of consciousness. If a woman's mind is unknown to her, if she does believe that beauty, power, success, and satisfaction are created superficially and not first from within, if she sees her beauty as merely a tool to satiate her baser, uninitiated desires, then she will find her beauty, power, success, and satisfaction to be fleeting, lacking endurance, lacking in substance, lacking in the ability to satiate the existential hunger in the depths of her very soul, in the depths of her womb. As she ages, she will calcify, harden in ways that the timeless beauty of her spirit will struggle to penetrate. But if she learns to resonate with her unique and best expressions of softness and grace, her spirit will shine through with a brilliance that will radiate unto all, a glow and warmth filled with inspiration, mystery, and this beauty, this brilliance, will last until her very last breath and into the great beyond. And the body she leaves behind will provide the means for the earth and her mycelium network to create nutrient-rich soil for the seeds that will sprout in her stead. It just doesn't pay to focus on superficiality. It really doesn't. Because in seeking superficial forms of satisfaction, adoration, or success, they'll hold a weak or aberrant vibration most often. And this is because if a being does not have a clean and clear channel through which to vibrate authentically, they're not going to be seeking superficial forms of satisfaction that are resonant with the truth. It's going to be resonant with distortion. So in seeking superficial forms of satisfaction, adoration, success, they will hold a weak or aberrant vibration more often than not. And what is provided through such an endeavor will fail to fill the void, for its resonance is that which is not conducive to inner peace, harmony, and true lasting self-esteem. Rather, it's often heavy or oppressive or toxic in some form or fashion, dissonant really at the end of the day. And this can weigh down the spirit or discombobulate the spirit, and it retards the evolutionary progress of a woman's soul. The awareness of what self-worth is, intrinsic and priceless, is lost to the woman who has lost sight of her own intrinsic beauty. It can atrophy or become distorted, the self. or at least the connection to it. And this connection becomes almost impossible to resonate with at a frequency conducive to the woman's desires. She must recognize her intrinsic beauty, her intrinsic brilliance, her inherent worth, and remove all impediments to the full unfettered resonance of this intrinsic beauty, so that what she truly desires can be known to her, so that she can allow the becoming process to lead her to her aims, so that the song of her desire can penetrate into the darkness and finally find her. And that would be via authentic magnetism and or sympathetic resonance. For non-authentic resonance, vibration, and frequency will become magnetic to outcomes, people, and circumstances that do not suit the true desires that the soul wants to pull toward it in order to have intercourse with it, and thus become further what it truly desires to become. If a woman is buried under the gravity of superficiality, falsehoods, desperation, doubt, confusion, conditioning and programming, and influences that are just dissonant, then how can the beauty of her natural tone be heard by her, let alone anyone else? How can what she longs for find her if she lacks alignment with the proper vibration? Impediments to the proper vibration, once removed, however, no longer block, distort, or invert her frequency and subsequent outcomes. Accomplishment includes acknowledgement that the density does not equate to ugliness or lack of wisdom. One must tune their ear to hear beyond such superficiality. One must tune their body to sense the difference between pathology and health, anti-life and life, control and liberty, contempt and reverence. All is not what it seems when the eyes and senses have been trained to assume beauty must always feel good or provide pleasure or look a certain way. In a world where evolution is directly linked to courage, a world where the generation of genius and harmony is directly linked to faith and humility, all is not what it seems in a world where liberty, love, and meaningful connection can only be sustainable through the removing of all of the armoring that one has accumulated to shield themselves from the pain of seeing the truth after an aeon of living a lie. To pierce through and know the truth of what exists within a particular vibration requires respect for the rules of the game, coupled with a willful evolution towards health of mind, body, and spirit, as dictated by the hunger within your soul to grow and become that which is intrinsically you. I'd like to bring it back to this quote from earlier because there's a lot that we can unpack in just these two very potent sentences. The masters also apply this principle to the conquering of natural phenomena in various ways. He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power, says one of the old writers. There's a lot of ways that we could look at this statement and a lot of different interpretations. One important perspective that I would like to share, however, is from the idea of the endeavor to evolve. We have a great many paths and options in this life, often unbeknownst to us just how many there actually are. We have a great many options of self-expression and ways of self-expression, what kind of talents we choose to foster in order to do so, what kinds of challenges we are to face in order to grow, and the subsequent rewards associated with such triumphs all lead us to the paradox that amidst all of this choice, all of the roads in front of us, we are something that is timeless, particular, and unprecedented. We have choice, and yet we are walking a path of destiny. For a woman who truly wants to have it all, whatever that happens to be for her, she may be surprised that what she thought she wanted was actually not at all what she really wants. As she comes to purify, refine, rehabilitate, and develop the strength of her natural frequency, and to the strength of her mind, as she mends her relationship with herself and reacquaints herself to herself, she becomes more clear on who it is she actually is, what really matters to her, and how to more effortlessly resonate at the vibration that will attract higher and higher quality iterations of her most closely held desires. Isn't it interesting that to be oneself requires so much less energy than it does to be someone you never actually were behind all of the veils, all of the masks, all of the pretense? This is as good a time as any to speak on manifestation and such practices like magic work, mindset work, and so on. We can change our mindset, our perspective, sure. We can go from lacking confidence to gaining it. We can change our material, financial, physical, mental, emotional, social, sexual, and romantic circumstances and qualities. These all can be changed through a shift in vibration. To do so at a level of meaningful satisfaction, we need to remember the first principle, mentalism or consciousness. Because when a woman lacks awareness of her own psychology, when a woman lacks appreciation for the experiential wisdom she's accumulated thus far, she can lose sight of the truth of how she really thinks and feels. She can lose sight of what it is she actually stands for and believes in. She can become a shadow of her former self, lacking awareness of what she actually thinks is possible to achieve and experience in her very own life. She can even develop a delusional sense of what she either deserves or doesn't deserve. And that's actually quite ubiquitous amongst our species in the present. Trying to use manifestation techniques to shift one's mindset or to attempt to raise one's vibration when still ignorant to the reality of one's own psychology, such techniques will tend to yield disappointing results at best. And at worst, a woman who tries such tactics to force the matter without meeting the level of wisdom and knowledge required to effectively shift can become severely mentally and emotionally ill. Though these maladies can be reversed and rehabilitated in some cases. So if you're experiencing a personality disorder or a mental illness, know that it can be reversed and rehabilitated if you're ready to do so. With that in mind, I can't help but ask, and I wonder perhaps if you are too, does that mean that some women just can't get what they want in this life? That they have to go without? I don't at all believe that is the case. But a person, in order to reverse their circumstances or improve their circumstances, their spirit must be strong, and they must know what it takes to foster a strong spirit within their body. And this is something that not everyone has the fortitude to do. But I dare say, if you're listening to this podcast, your chances of success are very strong just by nature of vibrationally resonating with this material. So to get this change so that you can have what you want, especially at higher and higher levels of quality in your experience, it's going to be a very individual experience, a very individual path with very specific challenges. Your will must be strong. But two, you must also have the ability to be humble. And this is so that you can see reality clearly, to be able to hear the guidance of your higher self, to see where adjustments can be made or where they need to or must be made. For the woman who is determined and ready to face their challenges with proper conduct and respect for the rules of the game, the chances of success, of having those desires and those hungers in your soul, in your womb, in your heart, to have those met, the chances increase dramatically if you can meet these criteria. But I must say, don't lose heart if you feel daunted right now. This is an endeavor that can take time and patience. But with persistence and tenacity, you will see ever increasing results that reflect in the quality of your experiences on all planes of your existence. More women than not can be exceedingly successful. Even though we see all around the world so many people struggling, especially financially and psychologically, It is true that more women than not can be exceedingly successful in their life, having extraordinarily high quality, deeply satisfying experiences in their life, deeply satisfying relationships with themselves and with others. But first, they must believe in themselves. You must believe in yourself. You must feel at the core of your being that you are connected to spirit intrinsically because you are of spirit. Feeling your connection to life itself is also a requisite. And from there, from that space, to be willing to do what is required to conscientiously rehabilitate and purify your mind. This is not about self-flagellation. This is not about fake it till you make it or forcing your way through. This is not how a willfully evolving woman behaves and conducts themselves. But there are women who have strong masculine energy in them. And as we get to the episode on gender, we will get clearer on what the implications of the masculine principle and feminine principle are in a woman, a biological woman, because it is very different from a biological man. Know this, you must be willing to stop being something or someone that you aren't. These changes, this up-leveling quality of experience begins by accepting the reality of where you're at, no matter where that happens to be. So be honest with yourself. Even if your vibrational state of being is painful or uncomfortable to sit within or be with, it has been many generations of ignorance and refusal to acquiesce to the rules with proper conduct that has gotten women to a point where even to be in the body as it is can be extraordinarily painful without some sort of intoxicant or distraction to dull the pain. This can be mental pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, difficulty accepting your body and how it looks, physical pain or illness, material, circumstantial, or financial pain. It could be familial pain, pain associated with your romantic life, your sex life, or the lack thereof, pain connected to your social position, your ability to impact the world and others. It could be pain associated with your network, your community, or friend circle. It could also connect to what's going on in your career or your vocation. Whatever it is a first and necessary step to accept the truth of how you feel, what vibration you're resonating at, whether it's pleasant, neutral, or painful, or something else. Many vibrations can be playing at once, like instruments in a band or an orchestra. So while some may be sweet to the ear, there may be a persistent dissonance that refuses to go away. Gaining mastery over your own vibration, your own mindset, in order to manifest at a high level successfully, first and foremost requires that you don't lie to yourself. Don't blot out the tones within you that are crying to be acknowledged. You're just wasting your time anyway. Be with what is, and you will begin to be able to wake from the delusions, the dreams, and the nightmares, and finally begin to see more and more clearly. Clear seeing, also known as clairvoyance, having your mentalism and your consciousness on point. This is a master key which aids in the unlocking of vibrational mastery, not forcing outcomes. That doesn't work. So remember this key to playing the game of life as a woman and play it well. In a world that defines beauty and success by only a small range of tones and expressions, human culture has largely failed to recognize true, timeless beauty for the preponderance of ugliness that has been erroneously defined as its antithesis. What is called beauty by humans is quite often aberrant, distorted, polluted, retarded, defiled, suppressed, an abomination in comparison with what would have unfolded if permitted to become from a position of proper conduct with respect to the sanctity of life and the intrinsic beauty that is one's birthright by mere fact of incarnation. There is a lot of pressure placed on women to exemplify qualities and attributes that are superficial and difficult to maintain over time. It can be confusing and confounding to accept what you really look like, which is a form of vibration, to accept your age or your aging process, your weight, your height, your features and proportions. And yet, can we not agree that some of the most beautiful people in the world are not at all conventionally beautiful? How can it be that they, despite possessing attributes that are antithetical to culturally defined standards of beauty, that these abominations are, in fact, brilliant, bright, and absolutely beautiful? I mean, they're so brilliant and beautiful that they could be well-dressed, snappy, or wearing a fucking potato sack. And yet somehow they can just make it work. People love them. And some of these people are women who attract high-quality, upstanding, healthy, attractive men with exceeding virtue and valor. Men who seem utterly out of their league, at least on paper, based on cultural standards. How can this be so? How could it be that such women of unconventional beauty, who may even be considered ugly, how could it be that those women are getting all that they want and more? Now, if I may be so bold as to suggest, could it be that maybe it's because they're being true to themselves without apology? And not in a performative way that's trying to convince or fool others. They're naturally graceful. They lack pretense. They're undeniably beautiful because of the integrity of their vibration. It's sound. Nothing is impeding the signal they're emitting from the core of their true self. There is little, if any, discrepancy between who they are on the inside and who it is that's being projected into the outside for us to see. Then there are some of the most conventionally beautiful people. They seem to have checked all the boxes of our cultural standards of beauty. They've got the clothes, they've got the shape, the look, they exude sexual magnetism of a kind that is quite strong and hard to deny. And yet somehow, somewhere amidst their presentation, their vibe feels off. Because it is. They're out of energetic integrity. And so their vibration carries a kind of dissonance that can be perceived, if one can see through the glamour. No matter how much they attempt to hide their internal ugliness, it can be felt on a vibrational level. Whatever it is that they're carrying beneath the veneer, whether it's shame, pride, fear, hubris, entitlement, disdain, jealousy, envy, vampiric hunger, or hatred. This dissonance grows stronger over time if not recognized and properly addressed, and the passage of time reveals the ugliness in a more palpable way to the outer world. It becomes harder and harder to hide. The quandary, right? Because at times our vibration may very well be irritating, or ugly, or filled with gross shit. Other times it may be profoundly inspiring, beautiful, pure, vulnerable. As we learn to tune our instrument, our vibration, to one that sits right within the core of our heart and soul, we learn how to emit a tone that speaks the song of our spirit, the song of our spirit, our heart, and our soul. This song may be joyful, it may be sorrowful or haunting, it may be playful, or it could be vitriolic. There is much nuance in this reality. And much like a diminished chord or a tritone, or even my favorite, the Locrian scale, which when played alone or to excess or in a haphazard combination can viscerally feel ugly. Yet, when played at the right time, from a clean, clear frequency, such tones can actually pull a musical piece together in a stunningly moving way that leaves its listener, its perceiver, utterly verklempt with the stirrings of their very own soul's longing. Sometimes when we're getting our act together and putting our mind right, like the beginner violinist, we may squeak out some very ugly sounding notes. But to move from beginner to intermediate, and from intermediate to master, being willing to learn how to play beautifully the tone that is you, is a worthy endeavor. Surely a more worthy endeavor than most. This requires, in many cases, to unlearn what you knew or have been taught, to see the difference between what the prevailing consensus definitions about the aesthetics of what comprises health, beauty, harmony, liberty, and inspiration, to notice the difference between that and how those consensus definitions compare to what actually feels and is healthy, beautiful, harmonious, inspiring, and liberating. It's all a matter, quite literally, of tuning in to the truth of what is real for you now and throughout the course of your journey thus far, and maybe perhaps looking into the future as to what tones are possible. But don't get me started. Do not get me started on the incredible power of sex because, well, we're going to go there a little bit. Okay, we're going to do that. Because sex and clear vibration, it's a powerful combo. When you're resonating with that powerful tone, that tone when you are positioned within the center of your true being, in full healthy self-esteem, in self-awareness and wisdom and proper polarity, which is not at all what most people are speaking on polarity, like just to get that clear, right? So it's better to learn the rules of the game and engage from a position of self-leadership rather than be led around by someone who's trying to tell you who to be. Anyway, I digress. Sex and the vibration that comes about sex when it's engaged with properly, what you stand to experience is a powerful, transformational, beneficial effect. This is what is generated when sex is done right. So when you're having high vibrational sex based on your own vibrational self-mastery, by the way, that, what you can wield there is quite powerful. And when you do it in a way that is truly aligned with a biophilous, willfully evolving woman, oh, what you can do, well, I really want to talk about it, but we'll have to get there in due time. Perhaps in the episode on generation. The potentials can become recognizable and viable, right? That's the point here when we speak about vibration. Viability, the resonant vibrational frequency of life force and viability. As you resonate as the true self, this is what you're able to access. When this is properly comprehended, the benefits are manifold, especially for the woman who hungers deeply to have it all and is willing to do what it takes to do so with honor and admirability, to walk the proper path that aligns with the truth of their heart and their soul and their spirit. And this is why it's so important to tune in to the right vibration. You can feel it though, it can be developed. Truly, an understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas enables Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as that of others. The masters also apply this principle to the conquering of natural phenomena in various ways. He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. And as we wrap up this episode in our series, I feel it would be very beneficial to just pause and sit with that last line for a moment, while also considering the aforementioned principles, that of mentalism or consciousness, and the principle of correspondence or resemblance. An understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas enables Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as that of others. The masters also apply this principle to the conquering of natural phenomena in various ways. He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. May you use your power in the most graceful ways, ways that foster truth, beauty, and liberty for yourself and all that come into contact with your beautiful, unique vibration. And with that, we conclude this episode on vibration. So, how are you feeling about vibration and frequency now, especially yours? Are you seeing the valuable benefits of comprehending these principles, these rules of the game, as you further your endeavors in this life? With a healthy mind that corresponds to the intrinsic self that is you, while taking the time and effort to tune into and resonate with your natural vibration, you are well on your way to the kinds of success that will fill the hunger of your soul and make your heart sing true and clear and most beautifully. Up next on the rules of the game, we will be looking into the principle of polarity. This particular principle is one that also has become quite popular as of late, with many speaking on the topic. But in pursuit of success, love, and connection, many have missed the great treasure contained within this principle rule. And when properly understood for what it is and executed well, you too can reap the benefits. And that's our aim, to support you in playing the game to win big, so you can experience the highest and most satisfying levels of quality outcomes that are attuned to the deepest desires of your very being, that of your heart, that of your spirit, soul, and of course your womb. So, if you're hungry, and I mean that deep hunger that may have been in there for longer than you can remember, if you're wanting more, and you're in it to win it, if you want to become a woman who can truly have it all, in those ways that are perfectly suited to you, then be sure you're subscribed to Willfully Evolving Woman here on YouTube, and have your notifications turned on so that you'll know right away when the next episode is ready. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for listening. Remember, you have the power to heal. You have the power to foster goodness, to inspire beauty and harmony, courage and creativity when you've come to master yourself and this game we call life. I believe in you, and I hope you do too. I'll see you in the next one.